Did you know that when it comes to queer Marxism, straight does not actually mean heterosexual, one man and one woman? The left has its own language, and if you don't understand the left's definitions, you are not going to understand them. I'm Karlyn Borysenko. I'm an analyst and independent journalist covering the far left in America, and I've actually been working on 2 books about queer Marxism for a while, so I've been deep in queer anarcho-communist subcultures for years now, reading their documents, watching their trainings, even going to their events undercover. And I'm going to show you just a few quick pieces of information to prove to you that when it comes to queer Marxism, straight does not mean heterosexual. We're going to start with this paper, The Political Economy of Sexual Identity, From Gender Performativity to Social Reproduction. I just want to read you these sentences. The reproduction of capital generates certain regimes of normativity that can be characterized as institutionalized and hegemonic relations, forms that regulate the social experience. That sounds really crazy, right? But what does that actually mean? When it comes to queer theory, the main goals of queer theory or queer Marxism are to abolish capitalism. Of course, the main target of the left is always and forever capitalism. The left believes capitalism is not just an economic model, but also a cultural model that dictates social relations, or as it says here, social experience. So it's saying the reproduction of capitalism generates certain regimes of normativity that uphold a certain type of social experience. So what they're saying is normativity are the norms that uphold the capitalist cultural model. You can also see there again in the green, it is therefore necessary to trace the origins and logics of gender normativity, their production, and their relation to the reproduction of the capitalist class system. So to queer Marxists, gender is a social construct created based on capitalism, putting people into these artificial roles in order to fuel a capitalist society. The big point I want to start off with is that normativity means the things that happen with the social relations among people that uphold the capitalist system that queer Marxists are trying to destroy. So keep that one in your back pocket. Next, we're going to move on to this book, and this book is called Queerness in Play, and it says, queer is often used as shorthand for multiple ways of positioning and orienting oneself as non-straight, and simultaneously as a way of rendering problematic every fixed definition. Following this, if straight is positioned as the norm, normativity, the norm, as it applies to sexuality or otherwise, a queer orientation turns away from it. So again, we're seeing straight is defined as the norm or the normativity, the norm that upholds capitalism. Queer, whose goal is to abolish capitalism via abolishing the gender binary and the nuclear family, seeks to push against anything that upholds the norm. Again, we're not talking about heterosexual, and I'm going to prove that. We're talking about the social relations that uphold the capitalist system via the gender binary and the nuclear family. And then we get into this book. This is Queer Ultraviolence, the Bashback Anthology. This is an essay in this book called What It Means to Become Beautiful. This essay was written by the Mary Nardini Gang, which was a queer anarchist collective in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in the mid-2000s. And in this essay, you're going to see them say, Barack Obama could never successfully wage a war against corporate fascism. He is corporate fascism. He is hideous. I mention that not because it relates to the straight thing, just because it's interesting that real far-left communists hate Barack Obama, I'm just saying. But more importantly, straight does not mean one man and one woman. Gays and lesbians straddle the utmost rungs on the ladder of heterosuperiority. Straightness is the product of patriarchy and assimilation. So this essay is directly confronting what they call heteronormativity. When queer Marxists are talking about heteronormativity, they're talking about gay couples who act straight. That's why they're saying gay and lesbians straddle the utmost rungs on the ladder of heterosuperiority. How can gays and lesbians be heterosuperior? They're gays and lesbians. That's because straight does not mean one man and one woman, explicitly as it says in the essay. Straight means being in a monogamous marriage that upholds capitalism via upholding the gender binary and the nuclear family. Queer Marxists are vehemently anti-assimilationist. That's why they're saying straightness is a product of patriarchy and assimilation. They're saying patriarchy is formed by capitalism. It's the gender hierarchy where men are on top, women are on the bottom. That's an oppression hierarchy. Assimilation means assimilating to capitalist norms. So I don't know how much more clear they can be. I've seen tons of books where they basically say the same thing, that straight means normal or the norms that uphold capitalism. It does not mean one man and one woman. I've seen video clips of them talking about this, even going back so far as the 70s. I've seen video clips of them talking about this. This is one of those weird things when you hear the terms like cis heteronormativity, you think it means one man and one woman, but it really doesn't. It means anyone who upholds the gender binary, anyone who wants to be in a monogamous marriage, anyone who wants to have a normal nuclear family that upholds the capitalist order because they believe the nuclear family socially reproduces capitalism and perpetuates it in perpetuity, which is what they want to destroy. I want to give a big shout out to Mizakan. Mizakan is one of the best follows you can have on Twitter. He's a member of my community, and he reads all these crazy books for us and summarizes them and finds the bits that we need to understand the definitions that the left is using. So big thank you to Mizakan for helping out with this video, and definitely give him a follow on Twitter. He posts stuff like this all the time, and it's fascinating to see how the left defines words. It's so different than what you think it is.